If you celebrate Christmas, you might have found some presents under the tree and might have the impression that a cheery old man in a red suit delivered them. He goes by several names, including St. Nicholas, Kris Kringle, Santa Claus, and Santa Claus. Santa Claus is without a doubt a secular Christmas icon. But who was he? And is Santa based off a real person that we finally have a real picture of, based off DNA and artificial intelligence? Hey guys, before we start, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video.
And by the way, for all you kids watching at home, Santa just is white, but this person is just arguing that maybe we should also have a black Santa.
But a lot of people out there who automatically assume that Santa must be white.
Santa Claus is black. He just is.
Santa is black, Santa is white, Santa's red.
Miss Kelly is correct. Santa was a white person.
Santa Claus to me is a black man.
The point is that Santa, if you believe in him, which many of us do, is a function of what you grew up with.
We are told in countless Christmas carols that Santa is essentially the Judge Judy of children. He makes the decisions of who have been good or bad and gives out gifts or punishments accordingly. But according to history, adults, not children, were the intended audience when Santa Claus, also known as St. Nicholas or Kris Kringle, was first invented. Now, being crafty adults, we avoided Santa's watch, putting children in the spotlight and fundamentally altering Christmas celebrations. Christmas was not widely celebrated in the early 1800s, and it was not illegal throughout the country. However, religious celebrations were frowned upon by Christian leaders who mostly belonged to the Protestant Reformation movement. They did so because they believed that the holiday was pagan and unscriptural. However, people still wanted to party because it was midwinter, the crops had been harvested, and sailors were awaiting better weather before departing. So on December the 25th, working class people got drunk and wandered around cities looking for loot. It was kind of an outdoor, alcohol-fueled, rowdy community blowout. So a group of prominent New Yorkers decided that the fun had to end. According to Jerry Bowler, a professor of history at the University of Manitoba in Canada and author of Santa Claus A History, said they wanted to domesticate Christmas, bring it indoors, focus it on children, and reclaim their European heritage. But first, how did this tradition get to New York? Looking for roots and traditions, those New Yorkers turned to their Dutch heritage, and to be Dutch is to celebrate Santa Claus. According to Professor Bowler, Santa Claus is a character from Dutch folklore that the Dutch brought to the New World in the 1600s.
Merry Christmas!
Everybody knows Santa's real name is Saint Nick, but you may be surprised to learn the real Saint Nicholas was born here, in what is now the town of Demre in southern Turkey.
He was modeled after St. Nicholas, a 3rd century Greek who lived in what is now Turkey, and sported a red bishop's mitre and a snowy white beard. The name Santa Claus evolved from Nick's Dutch name, Sinterklaas, a shortened form of St. Nicholas, Dutch for Saint Nicholas. Countries such as the Netherlands kept alive traditions associated with Santa Claus. It was these customs that the 19th century New Yorkers wanted to revive. So, the St. Nicholas Society discovered the ideal frontman in their namesake, who after all was known for being kind to kids as they sought to make Christmas more family-friendly. Remember that one of their objectives was to get intoxicated people off the street. Now they can do that by making Christmas a family occasion where kids, who back then had it tough, would get rewards for good behavior. So in 1809, American writer Washington Irving helped to popularize the Santa Claus story when he referred to St. Nicholas as the patron saint of New York in his book, Knickerbocker's History of New York. In his book, he portrays a pipe-smoking Nicholas soaring over the rooftops in a flying wagon, delivering presents to good girls and boys and switches to bad ones. Washington drew inspiration from the Dutch Santa Claus legends. Now, a little over 10 years later, in 1821, an unidentified author wrote a poem titled The Children's Friend, which included a magical character by the name of Santa Claus, who rode a reindeer-drawn sleigh full of presents to stuff obedient kids' stockings with gifts.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Itchy, itchy.
On top of that, an Episcopalian scholar by the name of Clements Clark Moore penned A Visit from St. Nicholas as a poem for his children. The Night Before Christmas is now the more popular name for it. Moore's St. Nicholas tale became popular and spread throughout the northeastern United States. By the early 1900s, Santa became standardized as the white-bearded, red-suited, twinkle-eyed, benevolent grandfather. Then cartoonist Thomas Nash published the first of a series of popular depictions of a rotund and jolly St. Nicholas.
Cartoonist Thomas Nash came up with the familiar Santa image, and ads like this one from the 30s helped lock it in.
In 1879, Nash was the first to suggest that St. Nicholas lived in not Turkey, Spain, or Holland, but at the North Pole. So, who was St. Nick? And do we have an actual image of him now that we have modern imaging and DNA technology? St. Nicholas of Myra was born sometime around 280 AD in Patara, near Myra in the modern-day Turkey. He was a bishop living in the 3rd century. He oversaw a massive transition in the Christian faith, including participating in the Council of Nicaea. St. Nicholas was admired for his piety and kindness and became the subject of many legends. It is said that he gave away all of his inherited wealth and traveled the countryside helping the poor and sick. He was credited with miraculously stopping a violent storm to save doomed sailors, donated money to a father forced to sell his daughter into prostitution, and even miraculously restoring to life a trio of boys who had been dismembered by an unscrupulous butcher. Over the course of many years, Nicholas' popularity spread and he became known as the protector of children and sailors. His feast day is celebrated on the anniversary of his death, December the 6th. This was traditionally considered a lucky day to make large purchases or to get married. Beginning in the 1500s, the Protestant Reformation swept away the cult of Christian saints, denouncing them as unbiblical and idolatrous. Christmas, too, went pretty much by the wayside for much of Protestant Europe during this time. However, St. Nicholas maintained a positive reputation, especially in Holland. Images of St. Nick vary considerably, but none of them look much like the red-cheeked, white-bearded old man seen everywhere today. One of the most compelling views of the real St. Nick was created not by ancient artists, but by using modern forensic facial reconstruction. Scholarly debate over where the remains of the Greek bishop rest continues to this day, but traditionally it was believed that the bones of St. Nicholas were stolen by Italian sailors during the 11th century and taken to the crypt of Basilia di San Nicola on the southeast coast of Italy. When the crypt was repaired in the 1950s, the saint's skull and bones were documented with X-ray photos and thousands of detailed measurements. In 2004, Caroline Wilkinson, a facial anthropologist at the University of Manchester, England, used data and modern software simulations to create a modern reconstruction of the long-dead man. Wilkinson put a human face on Santa's original namesake, one with a badly broken nose, possibly suffered during the persecution of Christians under the Roman Emperor Diocletian. Much of her work was necessarily subject to interpretation. The size and the shape of the facial muscles that once covered Nicholas' skull had to be inferred, and the shape of the skull itself was recreated from two-dimensional data. Digital artists added details that were based on best guesses, including the olive-toned skin, which was most common among Greeks in the Mediterranean like Nicholas, brown eyes, and the gray hair of a 60-year-old man. But with exponential advances in technology, Image Foundry, the UK partner Indian company that specializes in computer-generated imagery and who's created the 2006 image, updated their picture, revealing even a more realistic reconstruction of St. Nick. So guys, what do you think of the updated picture of St. Nicholas with the help of CGI? Also, did you know that Santa Claus was based off the historical St. Nicholas from the 3rd century? Let me know in the comment section below. And please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until then, see you next time.